Hello and welcome to another fun-filled adventure video from Havoc's son. Today I'm going to be removing the water pump out of a 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now look, before I get started, let's just get this out of the way. I am not a mechanic. So you can follow my lead on this if you wish, but I am not responsible for anything that could go wrong, because I have never changed the water pump on a 1998 Jeep Grand Cherokee 5.9 Magnum. So the first thing I think you'd want to do is pop the radiator, and as you can see, she's running a little warm, and I just drove it to O'Reilly Auto Parts store. It's not overheating, just a little bit warm, and I think it has something to do with the leak. I'm not really sure, or the fact that I'm topping it off so much. Whatever. She does that every once in a while. The good news is I'm not going to let it go any further than this, because today's the day. Now, the first thing I think you'd want to do, I would think, is remove the serpentine belt. Now, I've done this before, so it's pretty easy. Just do a little tighten up. And as you do, the belt will actually move so that you can pull it out. Very interesting. And then it locks in place. So when you put it back on, you loosen it, and then it runs on the spring. So this is a brand new belt. I just bought this. And as you can see, got a little moisture on it. I don't think that's going to hurt it any. Set this out of the way. Oh, don't you love the feel of glyco? It's almost like it's got a lubricating property to it. Okay, so now we're exposing all of this. Now, I'm not really sure if, in fact, you can just pull the pump directly without pulling everything else. It looks like you can. I'm going for it. So basically, this is going to be the simplest, easiest way to pull a pump. If it works. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to remove all the hoses. There's one here. And there's this one here. I've got to believe, yeah, I guess those are the only two. And then there's this pipe. This one here is kind of a weird little setup. Okay, my strategy is I can loosen the clamp. There's just not enough room for me to pull it in, and I don't want to take off the air conditioning pump nor the alternator. So I'm just going to let that go for now, because I think if I unbolt it enough and I can pull it out, I may be able to get more of it and then push it in. So the next part I'm going to take off is the main hose down here. And the other thing I noticed is that even though the Jeep Grand Cherokee is an American institution, it is now owned by Daimler-Benz. So I thought for sure this was going to be metric, but it's not. It's still standard. Wahoo. So when I look at the profile of the water pump, what I see is an outline all the way around it where the pump can come out. I mean, even down in here, it looks like the pump, whoever designed this engine was pretty wise, because I do believe that I can pull the pump out, and I think there might be enough clearance to pull the pump out without even removing the shroud. And all I have to do for a mainline hose is this bottom one. This one I don't have to remove. Woohoo! If anyone is interested, I am using Husky tools. You can get these at Home Depot. I love Husky tools. I love them better than Craftsman, Snap-on. Same lifetime warranty. Prices are pretty reasonable at Home Depot. Oh, see, this one won't fit over this pump, so it's got a Torx head. Interesting. I wondered why that had Torx. Now, what I do is I use my larger drive to crack these bolts open. They just give me a little more torque. And then I come in and finish it with my 3/8 drive. Wow, I mean, everything is just barely fitting. I won't waste footage on unbolting all of this, but basically I'm unbolting the top screws. I'll come back again to show you. Okay, two things I want to point out. One of them was unusual. The bolt that is down here on this side, on the bottom end of the pickup hose or inlet outlet hose, I really don't know how it travels, was loose. It wasn't even tightened all the way. But, you know, I don't know if that was where the leak was, because I swear it was coming from inside this pulley where the bearing is. And that's usually where they go bad. That's the first thing. The second thing is, please, don't do what I just did. I just drove this into town to, and I live out in the suburbs, to pick up the parts and drove it back. So the engine was nice and toasty. So when I took the bottom bolt out, of course the water flew out with it, hit my hand. Wake up call. Don't do as I do. So yeah, as I said before, be careful when you take this bolt out, because steaming hot water hit me. Yowzer. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the other bolt out. And I can kind of see the other bolt right here. And I think those are the only two, and then there's one right above it to the right. And I'm going to take those two out first, and then I'll take the top ones out. I have to say, you know, when I was younger, I was a fan of auto mechanics. And I love working on cars. And I've had a plethora of some really nice cars. I had a 1957 Chevy Apache with a Corvette drivetrain and a Chevy Blazer undercarriage. So it was a four-wheel drive. It was a badass car. I think I have pictures of it. I may post those in this video if I can find them. Which, I mean, I have somewhere I have pictures of me building this huge A-frame and literally taking the body off of the 57 Chevy Apache truck, lifting it up and pulling the undercarriage out, wheels and all, and rolling in the Blazer. It was a 68 Blazer, Chevy Blazer 4x4 undercarriage. And then I went and got a 68 Chevy Corvette 350 with the automatic transmission that went with it. And it was pretty badass. I took it on my honeymoon. So I think I even have honeymoon pictures of it somewhere. I have to look. I haven't seen those in a while. So yeah, it was. I've had a couple of Porsches. I had a 924 and I had a 911. I'll tell you, and a 914. I liked my 914 the best, even though it was probably the slowest. I'll tell you, you could corner at top speed, 105 miles an hour was top speed on that car. You could corner hairpin corners at that speed and not lose any traction because they were so flat and low to the ground. That was a beautiful and fun car. It was a great beach car because the top came off. I actually met my wife in that car at the beach. Okay, enough trivia. The ones on the bottom I wanted to just kind of show. One is almost just a little bit to the right of the center of the pulley. So your pulley's right down here, right here. And as you can see for my ratchet, and you can actually see it through there if you look. The other one is almost in the same place on the other side. All right. If there was any doubt that I guessed wrong on the leak, all of that has been pushed aside, because listen to this. And I don't know if you can see it, but my water pump pulley is doing a little dance, a sideways dance. Shouldn't be doing that. So I guessed right. Honestly, the unbolting of the water pump has been fairly easy to do. I think I may unbolt this pipe over on that top so that I can push it out, because I don't want any resistance. I mean, other than the hose that I just can't seem to get at that hose. I probably need, like, if I had another pair of hands, I could clamp it and somebody could, with 2 screwdrivers, could push it out. But I think I might be able to do that once I get the pump off. I really love this toolkit from Husky, because I didn't even know, but it comes with a set of these. And one of them fits perfect. What I ended up using is I used my little 3/8 drive. Where's this 1/4 inch drive? I think the other one's 3/8 and this is 1/2 inch. I think it's 1/4 inch drive. And that was able to spin that out really well. But I think I want to take this pipe out too, because it looks pretty rigid and it looks like it's binding that pump in there a little bit. So it's just one more bolt on the other end. Well, this was pretty easy. Basically right here, you just clip these off. Lift this up a little bit to clip these off. And then the hose comes off. And then right there is the bolt that I need to take out to loosen up. I wanted to move the camera over a little so that you get a better idea of what I'm taking off. So what I'm doing is I just unloosened the little bolt here. Where's that? It's a 7/16, a little nut that holds that pipe in. This is a water heater. We'll take that out, and then we'll pull the pipe out. Okay, so loosen that bolt over there, little 1/4 inch nut, actually. Just, you don't even have to take it all the way out. Just loosen a little bit, and then you get a screwdriver and you just pry it right from where the mounting bracket is in the front, and it pries right out. And in doing that, I noticed that the water pump is now loose. So now the only thing holding it in is that hose. So hopefully with the pump, I might be able to get it some leverage to pop that hose. Let's see if I can. Okay, well, I was right about one thing. You can't get the water pump out without taking everything else out, if you can get this hose out. Now, I found these. This is going to be my extra set of hands, I think. If I can get these to clamp on. Yeah. Let's get my screwdriver to pry the hose off. Okay, I have to tell you, the hardest part of this whole job was that little hose. There's the hose clamp. I hate these things. And I believe, come on, baby. Come on out. I mean, after everything, you have to pull the shroud to get the pump out. That just seems crazy to me. So I would think that this would work on all 5.9s. You know, in Dodge trucks and stuff. This little cup's kind of nice. You want to keep that. This is the pulley. Because I think this thread here is for a fan for the truck model. And then here's the impeller. Yeah. Yeah, there's your leak. And this was the hose area. It was really hard to get off. Now I've got a hose clamp, screw-on type, much better than what was there. And I gotta tell you, a lot of people say, oh, you gotta tear everything out to replace this hose. This hose is in great shape and it never moves. So I know it's in great shape because peeling it off, I mean, it was pretty resilient. Okay, now I'm going to bring the other pump out. Hang on. This is a testament of always running antifreeze. Good, clean antifreeze. I mean, I'm a stickler about this. This is the inside housing of the impeller. You get a little oxidation, a little bit, which aluminum will do in the areas where no water is flowing, but where it is flowing, the engine casing is like brand new. Don't scrimp on antifreeze. A lot of people just, you know, they change their oil regularly. That's great. Change your antifreeze too. A gallon of 50/50 is only like 15 bucks. It's a fabulous thing to do. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about too is you want to clean this really good before you put the other one in. A Dremel with a wire wheel attachment is probably your easiest thing because they're so small. Here's what I use. Now there's all types of Permatex. This type is maximum oil resistance. I didn't really think that there was going to be too much water. I mean, they have an actual maximum water resistance too. Either one I think is okay. And then what I'm using to replace that grip clamp or whatever is this right here. Okay, so now after you get the bead laid down on it, you may want to go over with your fingertip. What I always do is I just wet my finger like that, little spittle there. That way it doesn't stick too much to your finger right there, and then just go ahead and apply it. And by doing that, you're making sure that there's no gaps, and you want the bead to be thin. So here's the directions. Make sure that you do it right. Always read those. Now be careful because look at this bag. It's already open. Now this is nice. You got your gasket here. But the thing that could screw the whole thing up is this little O-ring. You need that baby. Don't lose it. Because that goes on that pipe. And usually they're in pretty bad shape and they're hard to get out. Like I would use a thin needle or something. Nothing heavier than that. So you don't want to score that little groove. Here's my new water pump. Now what I always like to do, I always like to put the new water pump next to the old water pump. Now by doing this, you just basically make a mental note that everything is where it should be. On this side, this looks good. This is a high performance engine and it's set up as such. So it's got electronic fans on it. And it takes away no power from the engine, so that's kind of nice. So that looks the same, a little bit different hole pattern, but it doesn't matter. And what you're really looking for here is where this juts out, and that's identical. And then this right here, and that's identical. So we're good. Don't drop it. And then a quick view on the other side. You can see that they're the same. One big difference, this one, doing a little wiggle dance. We don't want that. Oh, no wiggle dance. All right. But this stuff sets up quick, so you want to move fast. And what you can see is I put a small bead on this water pump, and really it's only just to apply the gasket and make it kind of stay in place. That's the only reason why you want it. so that when you put it in, it's right where you want it. The gasket maker holds it, as long as you don't shove it around too much. Press down on it a little bit, like this. It's really good at holding the gasket in. Now, I've seen a lot of other videos and a lot of different other ways to do it. I have not had one fail on me yet doing it this way. This is the easiest, quickest way to do this. And that's what I'm looking for, Bart. That came out just like that. And it's hard as a rock. And we're going to put the new one on. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. Be careful with this little baby. You lose this. Yeah, that's spittle. See that? I had it in my mouth. I had to spit it out a lot. But you want the spittle on there. It's important. Yuck. Rubber. Don't put that on correctly. You're going to have a constant water leak. A lot of people talk about putting some RTV in there. No. Just, you know, put it in your mouth a little bit. Taste a little rubber. And you could kill you. Get it nice and wet. Clean that out a little bit, the groove in the pipe, before you put it in. You may want to brush the pipe. So we're going to drop this in. Okay, you do want to take off the fan shroud. 2 bolts right here and a little clip right here. And it lifts right out. And that gives you a lot more room. Okay, the next thing you want to know is, I don't know if you can see it, this pipe right here with this nut goes in. You want to make sure that it's firmly in there. So what I do is right where the bracket hinges to the pipe, just tap on that just a little bit. Just like I did right there. What that'll do is that'll drop it in pretty much all the way. And then you go ahead and, I like to do a pattern, you know. It's just something I was taught long ago. I don't know if you need to on this one, but you snug one. And then you come across to the other side, which is going to be probably down here. And I got to tell you, taking that fan shroud off, I should have done that right off the bat, because it sure does make things a lot easier, a lot more room. And it's just 2 bolts, comes right out, and a clip. So, you know, live and learn. Take the fan shroud out with the electronic fan. Just makes it a lot easier to work on. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten those up. Okay, the other thing I wanted to stress is this hose clamp right here. Make sure that it's visible when you put it in. I happened to put my pump on, had it all the way in, and realized that my hose clamp was buried, and I had to pull my pump out a little bit. One of the reasons why I use a ceramic bowl. It doesn't matter where you set it. You don't have to worry about sparks. Okay, I got it all bolted in. So I'm going to put the serpentine belt in now. And there's a diagram of it here. Yeah, follow the diagram that's printed right there for you. There you go. Okay. Yeah, this is still standard. I love that. So once you got the belt on, you basically loosen it to tighten it. Yeah, I know, it's weird. You want to get it a little bit loose so that the spring works. That holds the belt tight. Now we put on the fan shroud. When you slide it in, it fits in a little groove down on the bottom. These don't have to be too tight because they're just running into some plastic. Notice if you pour the antifreeze upside down the bottle with the top like this, it pours easier. Airflow or something, who knows. Well, the bubbling like that is a good sign. That means the seal, without pressure, is airtight. Okay, you also want to top off your overflow to the proper mark. And I'm probably going to have to refill this. That's about right. Now another thing I like to do is I like to start the engine with the cap off. That way, I don't know, air circulates, bubbles out. We're going to start her right now. Now you got to understand, a 5.9 Magnum sounds like a Hemi. Pretty much is a Hemi, except it's not hemispherical heads. Hemispherical heads gives the engine the ability for a high top end, like 160 plus miles an hour. For four-wheel drive, that's not, you don't want that. What you want is you want the low end torque. So you go to the normal box top heads. Same engine, just different heads. What this does is 0 to 30, it gives you extreme torque, which what a four-wheel drive needs. No leaks. Exactly 2 gallons. Well, that's it. A successful water pump install. Easy way. No leaks there. Careful, Mark. That hose with the noose hole clamp that I was worried about. That if you're gonna scrimp, that's the least likely place to do it, because that hose, they say, gets really hot, but it looked pretty good to me. I keep this engine pretty cool, so it looked fine, and as you can see, it's holding great. And I love the hose clamp as opposed to that pressure seal. So there you have it, another backfilled adventure video from Havoc. I hope you enjoyed it. You guys, like always, have a great day and a better life.